Welcome back to part 2. In the first part of the lesson, we looked at tips and things you can do to prepare for a typhoon. We looked at some good ideas and we looked at some very bad ideas. Now imagine this. Imagine this. Typhoon is coming to your town and you have one day to prepare. You're at home with your family members. You've read up on typhoons, you've read up on the internet, good ways to prepare. But you may need to convince your family members these are good ideas. We're going to have a look at making suggestions. What a response could be to your suggestion, and maybe reasoning you can give for your suggestion. So remember, you've got one day to prepare. You want to talk to your family members and suggest things that you as a family can do to prepare for the typhoon. We're going to look at a few of the good ideas we discussed in part 1 and how we can talk about it. A suggestion you can make to your parents is, I think we should buy some canned food. What sort of response will you get from a family member? This is a pretty reasonable suggestion. I would guess family would say, that's a great idea. We'll go to the shops now and stock up on canned food. So they've agreed with you. You don't have to give a reason. Maybe you made a suggestion like this. We should buy a ladder. Maybe your father will look at you a bit like this and say, why? Why would we do that? You've offered the suggestion. The response has been a little bit negative. Why would we do that? You may now want to provide a reason. If you remember in part 1, the reason we're going to buy a ladder our reasoning is this, so we can get to the roof and fix any leaks. If you remember another suggestion, maybe while we're on the roof, we can attach ropes so we can peg it to the ground. So maybe this will convince our family members that when we buy our canned food, we should also buy a ladder to help us prepare for the typhoon. Let's look at another one. So a suggestion, but we're a little bit more firm. We must buy candles and matches. Maybe your little sister or your little brother will disagree. We have electricity. We don't need those. And again, we'll need to provide a reason. We can just simply explain a typhoon may damage power lines. With no power lines, there's no electricity. And with no electricity, there's no light, unless we have candles and matches to light them. Good reasoning. So, we've suggested 3 good ideas. In the first situation, everyone's agreed with us. That's a great idea about canned food. The second 2, we've been challenged. Why should we buy a ladder? We don't need candles, we've got electricity. We've provided reasons to help us persuade our family members to follow our good ideas. What happens if one of your family members has a bad suggestion? Let's say, your little brother why don't we buy a dog? I'll be bored for 3 days in the house, and it'll be fun to have someone to play with. How are we going to respond to a bad idea? Try this. I think it's a bad idea to take responsibility for a dog in the middle of a natural disaster. It's going to be hard to reason against your suggestion there, or against your response. So, examples, suggestions, responses to suggestions, and where needs be, reasoning our suggestions. Following these steps can help us persuade people to accept our suggestions if we have good ideas. Now your homework today is on page 78. There's a big article which talks about earthquakes, tidal waves, typhoons, volcanoes, and tornadoes. I'd like you to learn a bit more about typhoons, tidal waves, and maybe answer the questions on page 79. There are 6 of them. That's it from me. I'll see you for the next lesson.